I'm taking a little walk out here in my family's farm. Cafe Cristina with all the coffee. You can see all the coffee here. Okay. But what I wanted to show you, I mean, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous afternoon. Tropical storm Cristina has just moved up to the north on the Pacific side. We had a few days of rain, and right now it's just amazing. Sort of its side effects have moved on. We did get a lot of rain, but right now it's very nice. At least right here it is. And I wanted to show you something, and that is, actually I just found something cool here. That is this tree that's right above me. Right here. Look at that. And this has got to be one of my favorite trees. I hope I don't have any boogers because you can look right up my nose, but this is one of my favorite trees for shade and habitat restoration, actually, in general, in the right places, on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, for example. It's related to the Bullhorn Acacia, and that is very apparent here if I get a little closer and show you the trunk. Here's the trunk. Now take a look at these thorns right here. Gorgeous, gorgeous protection against probably mammals. But right now, if you look at it, most of it doesn't have many thorns. Okay. When it was younger, yes, it had more thorns covering the trunk. And the workers and my parents were worried at the beginning because, hey, this is why are you planting this extremely thorny tree in the coffee? We need to walk by, etc., blah, blah, blah. Thorns hurt. I mean, just don't lean against a freaking tree and you won't get spine. A thorn, but, things you have to consider. But now that it's older and it's gotten bigger, there aren't that many thorns on it. Most of the thorns are way up high. And one cool thing is the thorns on this Bullhorn Acacia are hollow. And there's a relationship with a species of ant that colonizes the tree when it's small. So when the tree is small, the ants colonize it. They go to the new thorns that are still soft. They make a hole in it. They go inside. And that is where they have their nest. And it's not just in one thorn. It's throughout all the thorns in the whole tree, really, is where they have all the eggs and the larvae. So the tree becomes their home. But also the tree is producing food for all of these ants. It actually has these little extra floral nectaries on the leaves that produces little bits of nectar, which is an excellent food source. And the ants, as you know, love sugar. And at the tip of the newly growing leaves, it also produces these little food packets that the ants harvest. Okay, so the ants are getting a place to live, and they're getting food. But what's the tree getting? And precisely, the tree is getting protection. Pardon all the noise from all the cars and motorcycles and stuff. But the tree is getting protection. As the ants are patrolling the tree, looking for all these food sources, looking for nectar, looking for whatever the tree is producing, they are also patrolling and looking for other insects, and caterpillars, for example, that may be feeding on the foliage. So as they're patrolling for all these other food sources, they find these insects and they either deter them, chase them away, or they hunt them and kill them. So very cool relation between the ants and plants, and I'm sure this is not the last example we'll show you. Over time we'll show you some other really cool ones. But all in all, this is one of my favorite trees, especially for shade and restoration, as I said. Right now it's big. This tree is now about 12 meters tall. About 3 years ago, when it was half this size, like I said, it's very fast growing. During migration time in late September, I saw quite a few species of birds using this tree. And in one moment that I came by here, and I was just doing some monitoring to see what birds were using what shade trees in the coffee. I noticed this one tree had quite a few. There was Tennessee warbler. There was chestnut-sided warbler. There was also a black-throated green warbler. There was a golden-winged warbler, a Canada warbler, and a cerulean warbler. 6 species of warblers, including a couple that whose population have declined tremendously over the last years. They were all in this one tree at once. And they weren't just in there briefly. They were in there for about 10 minutes before they moved on. That means they were using this tree, finding a lot of food. And that's the best metric to me. That's one of the best metrics if a tree is useful, for birds. Hey, if the birds are in there feeding in the tree and spending a lot of tree in there and spending a lot of time in there, there's got to be a lot of food. So, what better metric than that? And I have put a few in our coffee farm to use them as shade trees, okay? The important thing about having them as shade trees is, first of all, they are legumes, so they fix nitrogen, which is an extremely important nutrient for all these coffee plants, okay? And as you see, base of the shade tree right here, coffee plant looking very nice on one side, coffee plant looking very nice on the other side. So that's, really good empirical evidence right there that these coffee plants are loving it under this tree. The leaves, I think I can find one right down here. Yep. There we go. The leaves are very fine. They have very fine foliage. So the shade is not very dense. Okay, so it's a very nice filtered shade. Still allows a certain amount of sunlight to come in, which means you don't need to prune it. And your coffee plants are still getting enough sunlight coming through to be able to grow properly and produce properly. So this one, and right now it's really cool. I'm looking at several species of birds up in the tree. There's buff-throated saltators calling up here. There's a clay-colored thrush. There was a mistletoe tyrannulet and yellow-throated euphonias, and there goes a brown jay as well. So a bunch of birds just hanging around here on this gorgeous afternoon, checking out this tree. And pygmy rain frogs as well. One just called it. Dig. Probably can't hear it in my crappy phone, but. So one of our goals is to diversify our shade trees, find different species, different native species that are good for shade, right? All trees produce shade, but not all trees are good shade trees. And that's what we're trying to do. One of the many things we're trying to do is figure out what trees are actually good shade trees in coffee and what native trees, so that we can start converting this monoculture of coffee, which is an exotic species, but hey, producing something to make a living, but do it in the best way possible, in which case we can have a good diverse amount of species of shade trees, not your typical monoculture of the same species of shade tree, but good diversity of species and good diversity of structure. So every tree grows differently. You have some trees that grow much bigger than other ones, and so on. So anyway, this is our Bullhorn Acacia from the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, Vachellia ruddiae. Highly recommended if you're growing coffee. Excellent shade tree. Excellent for restoration as well.